everybody. Welcome. This is On the Roads, and my name is Donovan. I also have a YouTube channel. It's called Donnie Camps the Nation. And I also have an Instagram. It's Matrix2X_1. I was supposed to drop this cast. I was supposed to drop it Monday, but I ran into some sound issues. Thank goodness some people hit me up and let me know that the sound was not that great. And when I went back after I posted a teaser, I went back and checked it out. I was like, oh my goodness, it sounds so bad. So I'm playing around with different types of sound. And I'll get that worked out. But man, just equipment wise, you got to, there's so much that you got to do just to try to do a podcast. You got to apps to record your cast. And it was a whole lot of stuff that I had to do in order to make this happen. Basically, I'm from New Jersey, but I've been living in Las Vegas for 6 years. I've been coming out to Las Vegas since 1999, and I just fell in love with the mountains and the area. And I put this plan into motion. I was like, I'm moving to Las Vegas. So 10 years before I retired from my job in New Jersey, I was like, I'm moving here. And I was coming out here probably once a year. And I retired in 2019. I retired. But I was coming out here every year since 99. And I said to myself, I'm going to live here. And I started embracing the local life. The first couple of years you come out here, you drink, you gamble, then you're hungover, you go home. It's like, oh my God, why did I do that to myself? After I came out a few times, I started embracing the local life. I ended up making some friends out here. I had a friend base in Las Vegas. I kind of had two lots, and I was doing trips. I was doing guys trips. We're bringing 10, 11, 12 guys out here, come out here for 3 or 4 days, have a great time and go back. In the process, I was still doing some traveling. I was going to Valley of Fire. I went to the west rim of the Grand Canyon. There were some state parks that I went to. I just started loving this area. So I'm moving here. 5 years out, I really put my plan into motion. The frequency of me coming out here, I think I was coming out here 2, 3 times a year. Then 3 years before I retired, I was coming out 4 or 5 times a year. Coming out here right before I retired, I started looking for a place to live. So, okay, I'm going to look for a place to live. I came out here on a couple of trips and I signed up for Zillow. It was funny. One of my friends where I'm living right now, he helped me get this place because it was right down to the wire. Come out, man, I got to find a place to live. And some of the realtors out here, unless I'm from New Jersey, I'm talking about I want to rent something. That's not going to make me no money. Why am I going to help you rent something? But I just kept at it. And finally, I think it was 3 or 4 months before I was due to come out here to move. That's when I met my landlord who helps me out with this condo that I live in now. That's when I came across him and I filled out all the paperwork and I got approved. I came out and checked the place out, loved it. It was set in stone, moving to Vegas. So here I am. I'm in Vegas. I had a part-time job. I worked a night shift. When I would get done my job, I would jump in my car and I'm gone. I'd go check out, different ghost towns, different parks. I started looking at social media. These people were car camping. It's like, wow, they're doing some car camping. That's pretty cool. And COVID hit. With COVID, everybody decided that they wanted to go outside and have fun. We're going outside. We can't be inside. We can't be within 6 feet of each other, but we can be outside and have fun. People started going outside, started exploring national parks, and the car camp life was kind of glamorous. Then people started doing the camper van because some people didn't want to do the RVs because RVs, even though they're beautiful, some of the places that you go, there's length restrictions, things like that. The glamour thing was to van camp, but I was watching people car camp. It was pretty cool. I said, man, I had an SUV, I got a Dodge Journey. I'm going. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to do this car camp thing. I go on Amazon, I buy some basic stuff. I get an air mattress, I get sleeping bag. I get a portable stove, cooking stove, so I cook food. I got some freeze dry food. So here I go. So I go out, boom, I go out to to the Valley of Fire, and I'm going to overnight or some overnight camping. I find out here they have what they call BLM land. So with BLM land, it's pretty much public land. You can go out there. There is pretty much a 14 day limit, and then you have to move. You can move a mile down, or you just can't stay in the same place more than 14 days. So I said, wow, so I did my research, and this BLM land was pretty cool. So I go out to some BLM land. I go out there to a Valley Fire, do an overnight camp. I set up my air mattress. I go to Bass Pro Shop. I get all this stuff, and I go out. I go buy some food. I go out, cook, have a great time. End of the night, jump in my back of my SUV. Got a cover, a pillow, all that good stuff, sleeping bag, and it was pretty cool. I liked it. I said, man, this is pretty cool. So, that's where I caught the bug. I bought some other stuff and kept going out camping, did some state parks. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. And it kept me away from the critters because I'm scared of everybody. I can do coyotes, I can do foxes, but when you start talking about Smokey the Bear, you talking about mountain lions and things like that, rattlesnakes and scorpions, a little bit scared, but I wasn't scared to the point where it kept me from doing it. So I went out, did it, had some fun. I had talked to my mom when I still lived in New Jersey. I talked to my mom and when my stepdad was alive. He was a truck driver. We had talked about driving across the nation. I was going to take some time off from work. We were going to jump in the car and we were just going to drive across the nation, have fun, see some things. And he passed away and it never happened. But when I came out here, I moved out here and I started buying this camping gear. I said, I've been watching some videos and looking at these national parks, and I went and bought a park pass. Cost me $80, worth its weight in gold. Because we're going to talk about that as well. But worth its weight in gold. I hit a couple of national parks. One of the first national parks that I hit, I think it was Death Valley, was one of the first national parks I went to. You had to pay to get in. Once I bought the park pass, game changer. The park pass allows you to get in, national parks and national monuments. So two national parks, paid for it. $35 a pop. Well, maybe three national parks, and it's worth its weight in gold. So I had a national park pass, and my trips started getting longer and longer. One day, I was sitting around, and I really love this national park thing. I had got to work. I was working night shift. So I got to work and I said to myself, man, it would be cool if I camped the nation, go see as many national parks as I could and get to see my friends in the process. I went ahead and bought a map, put this map out in the kitchen and I'm looking. I didn't know that the United States was so big, but I'm looking and this map was really cool. It had the national parks, scenic drives, things you could do, and it had it all broken down. But I started putting my plan together of how I'm going to camp the nation. I'm going to go see these national parks. And I broke mine up into segments. I think the longest I was out on the road was a month and a half. Went out on the road and I went up my first trip. I went over to San Diego, went all the way up to Washington, and then cut across a little bit and then came down through Idaho came through Idaho and back to Las Vegas. So that was the first leg of my trip. But I broke it up into segments because I still have my condo. Broke it up into segments and it made it that much easier. One thing about traveling, if you can't spend long periods of time by yourself and being out here in the West, like I live in Nevada. Once you leave Las Vegas and you start heading north, sometimes there's nothing but open road, mountains, and no phone signal. All you have is yourself. Some of the people I watched on social media, they had pets with them, and that's pretty cool. But I was by myself. So you have to be comfortable with being by yourself and you have to plan. For me to do the nationwide trip that I did, I started planning 6 months ahead of time because there was so many things that I had to do. I had to figure out what I had to look at weather. We'll talk about in later episodes how the apps that I use to find camp spots. You have to when car camping, I pretty much found a lot of free camping. I camped a lot. I paid for some of my camps, but it the van, that's why it's so cool if you have a camper van or a car because you can do some stealth camping. And with a RV, you're pretty much restricted about where you can stay and what you can do. In later episodes, we'll talk about places that you can stay and the apps that I use. There was apps that as well that had for gas. For example, Love's Truck Stop. I downloaded their app, and every time I got gas, I I think I saved 10 cent, 10 cent a gallon. That was a game changer. Different things you have to take into account. I'll also talk to you about some of the equipment I had. Make no mistakes, I'm not a professional. I learned this on my own by doing research and watching people and talking to people. We will have guests on here. We'll have some people that helped me find places to camp that were influential in me embracing this car camp life. And car camp's not for everybody. I mean, camper van is a little bit more easy because you do have everything in your camper van. The things that I have in my car and the things that I accumulated in my car, I bought, but I have like a 2 burner stove. I have a camp fridge. We'll talk about different types of equipment because you're going to have to tailor it to what makes you comfortable, what's going to help you maximize your camping experience. We'll talk about different things you can buy. I'll show you some stuff that I've bought just to make your experience fun. I got a chance to stay at some of my friends' house all over the nation, different parts. People were nice enough to let me stay at their house because there's some days you're just on the road and you don't know where your next shower is coming from. But we'll talk about that too. We'll talk about ways that you can go to places if you're not camping at a campsite that has a shower. There's places that you can go and take showers. For example, I know some people that got a membership at a really popular gym. They got a monthly membership, and some of the major cities you're driving around and that place is there. So you can go there and get a workout in and get a shower. We'll also talk about those things. But I did just want to get this episode out there. I wanted to, you know, test out the sound system and get a little bit more comfortable with talking on the microphone. But we'll call this one episode 0. Once again, I'm Donovan, and this is On the Roads, and I'll talk to you on the next one.